Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor Podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. You have no idea what's to come. Welcome to this week's Dirt Parlor Podcast. My counterpart will be here just shortly, and our show is always brought to you by the fine folks of Nutrien and our great partner Steve Martin at Ace Duran Trucking. And then we've got Jeff Hoker of Hoker Trucking, of course, and we've got Maria from FK Rods always helping us, our Reed Millard and Millard Family Chapels, my buddy Bo Potejoy at Hot Rod Septic, and we've got some other people coming on board. Dave Warren out of PA coming on with Dave's got an unbelievable power sports program. And we've got another guy that's going to be coming on board that helps Logan Schuhart a little bit that took the C&D Riggins place, TCAS Concrete of Troy Smith. And so we're growing like crazy. And this is the first time we've done this. I'm really pumped up because I've got two drivers that we're going to have on the same time tonight. And we got the Knoxville Nationals champion, Ryan Timms, joining us. And then we got the hottest dude in PA right now. We got Chase Dietz coming on board with us tonight. So, guys, I got to tell you, first of all, I'm stoked about having you both on the show tonight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate you having us on.
I just wanted to say it's a pleasure having both of you guys on the show tonight. Naturally, Ryan, we'll start with you real quick. You know, here you are, the Knoxville Nationals champion. You come off a podium with the Outlaws. And then last Saturday night, you still let them know the sheriff's still in town.
Yeah, it was the Outlaw weekend I was super happy with. It was good to run, podium both nights, me and Gravel being the only guys on the podium both nights, and then to run third Gravel and Sweet, and then Macedo and Gravel, all really great guys at Knoxville. It was a good confidence booster, and felt good to know that we still got speed there at Knoxville. And then to come off with the win on the season opener was really nice. And, yeah, just feeling like we're back at home. So it's really good.
And then with the guy below us, and you look at Chase Dietz, and Ryan, I know we talked earlier, you got a lot of respect for Chase, and I know he's got a lot of respect for you. How about this cat's got 6 wins already in PA?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I was gonna tell him congratulations on all the success so far. I know it's not easy winning out there at all at any of them PA tracks. So 6 times this early in the season, it's pretty impressive.
I appreciate that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's well deserved. He and Chase even says, like I said, well, you got 6 wins. He's like, no, I should have 7. Earlier today, it was like I had a flat tire when I was smoking the field, basically. And I'm like, it just tells you. And first of all, I know Chase. I know one of your owners, Kelly Stamen, a little bit. You drive for some really wonderful people.
Yeah, I think I was telling you earlier. I'm very fortunate to drive for John and Kelly, but honestly, for the sport of sprint car racing, everyone in sprint car racing is very fortunate to have them involved because they just simply love it. If they could do it every day, I guarantee they would. And, they get their whole family there. John's mom both his parents and part of his family are there pretty often. And they just really enjoy being there and just having fun with it. So, aside from their team, look, they help other teams out here and there, and they would help anyone out. So, we're just very fortunate from the sport aspect, everyone in the community here to have them involved in sprint car racing.
Is it, real quick going into looking at the season, I mean, when you look at Anthony, of course, with the injury, and then you look at Danny and stuff, but you kind of like last year, this program really started, would you say about the last quarter of the season last year, you could really see this program coming to fruition to where it is right now?
Yeah, and I think a lot of that was just building the chemistry. For me and Tommy Carl's the crew chief on the team. We were coming into a whole different program, We were doing a lot of racing, which, I hadn't really done too much in my career, and he hasn't done in a while. So, we all had to adapt, and by the end of the year, it seemed to definitely click more and more. But we had a lot of success, but we knew we left a lot of stuff on the table at times, and that's that end of the year, especially the big win there at Williams Grove with the Outlaws. Certainly, I felt like gave us more and more confidence going through the end of the year and into the off season here. So it just takes time. Simply put, just time and experience, and the more we get together, the better it'll be.
It gets back to, I'm going to go to Ryan next on this, because when I look at Ryan Timms and you look at the Liebig Motorsports deal, and this kid comes out already after winning the Nationals and comes right out with 2 podium finishes with the Outlaws. And then he goes to Saturday night, and then he's going to be racing in Knoxville a lot here over the next few months before we get in. Look at it. He's already smiling. It's like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? So I look at in what Ryan, and when I remember watching you, and I've watched you race since you started, and I always looked at you as this unbelievable driving for Keith in the bullrings and stuff. And now, do you look at yourself like right now? Talk to me a little bit about going from the bullrings to this half-mile genius that you've turned into right now at Knoxville.
Yeah, the bull rings and the half miles are 2 completely different games for sure. I do think your car matters a lot when it comes to bull rings or half miles, but in my experience, the car definitely matters a ton when it comes to half miles, and especially at Knoxville. There's a lot of guys that are good at a lot of other places that go to Knoxville and just struggle. And when we had our 5T team, we would go to half miles and we'd be all right at some of them, but we struggled to make main to half mile or Knoxville. And then when I got with Guy Forbrook, and my first time with them, and we went quick time, and it was like, all right, well, maybe I do know how to race at a half mile. And then we went out and started actually racing, not just qualifying, and you get put in dirty air, and it's a whole different game. And so, yeah, when I paired up with Shane, it was our first 3 or 4 races were at big tracks, and we were like top 5s every night. And it was like just kind of a relief to have speed at all these big half miles. And yeah, it was really good. And Shane, he knows his stuff at Knoxville for sure. But any big track, he gets the car rolling. And when we first got together, I remember we had to slow the car down because I felt like I was going so fast, and it was just hard to control the car and put it where I wanted it. And now we got so many laps in Knoxville and all these big tracks. Now it feels normal to be going that fast. And but yeah, it took a while for me to figure it out. And then like I said, dirty air is a big deal, and just racing with other guys on them big tracks is challenging, especially with all the outlaw guys. And it's just been really nice to be able to, Shane, he drove himself, so he's kind of been a driver coach for me also. And that's been a really good thing for me, where I'll come in and I might think the car's not very good, and he'll pull up video and show me where I'm screwing up and explaining how I'm complaining where it's tight right here, but maybe I'm doing something going into the corner that's causing it to get tight or whatever. And he's just been a really good driver coach for me, and it's really worked out.
And Chase, and going to you now, and you look at what he's doing at Knoxville is kind of what you've been doing at Port Royal.
Yeah. Well, and just from what he was explaining, he's got you put in that time. That's basically what it comes down to. He put in the time at Knoxville, got a lot of laps at Knoxville. I mean, look, it's really no different than myself at Lincoln Speedway here, close by to me. I started my sprint car career at Lincoln, and I got the most laps in, my career in a sprint car there. So once you once you get the time and you race the racetrack, you figure out where to be on the track, and then start critiquing yourself, like Ryan was just explaining. You start to, figure it out. And it's funny just listening to him talk about, the back and forth on the coaching. I mean, this is incredibly important. There's, even if you win a race, you should always be going back like, hey, I made a mistake there. I made a mistake there. Sometimes it works out, you win, but there's other times throughout races where maybe you make the wrong choice, but you're lucky enough to get a break or another opportunity to maybe win it back. And you don't necessarily get that all the time. So it just comes down to choices too. And it's extremely tough. There's so much to any of these races, and to pull off wins, it's very difficult. The guys that you watch make it easy, it's certainly not. It's just they figured it out. They're comfortable. They got confidence. They have the experience. They put it all together. So when you have all that, you need to ride the wave and just enjoy it while you got it. Because again, things always change. Tires could change tomorrow. Rules could change, track conditions. You never know. So you just got to be able to adapt. And when you're able to do that, you can certainly make sure yourself that you're going to be up front.
Gordy.
Well, boys, sorry I'm kind of jumping in the middle here, but
Traffic sucked.
yeah, traffic was no good. But kind of listening and to what you guys are saying there, I think you guys talking about Ryan, you talking about listening to kind of having a nice like a driver coach and being able to go back and watch that video and stuff. I think now, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, being able to really go back and analyze the video has become so detrimental to anybody's kind of growth in this sport. Obviously, Ryan, you come flying in here, win the Knoxville Nationals last year, do all those things, but those learning curves nowadays have to be shorter than what they used to be, right? There's a lot more emphasis on kind of getting going faster. I feel like it's almost kind of unfair to the younger guys at times, because it's like they end up bouncing rides more than you would think, because now everybody wants wins or they want good finishes, and it's become a lot harder. But I think you look at how fast really both of you have done, a great job this year, winning races, being up front at big races. But I guess really my question is for both of you is, when you go throughout a night, right? Say even if it's a bad night, how much video and all that stuff are you guys really watching? Because like I know for myself this past weekend up at Mississippi Thunder, hell, every time I got off the racetrack, I was back rewinding Dirt Vision to kind of see my car placement, to see what I was doing wrong, and watching some other guys. Are you guys doing that between races? Are you going that, when you're going to that racetrack the next time, are you going back and watching your video from the last time you were there, or so on and so forth?
All right. Most of the time, after qualifying, I'll go and watch the Dirt Vision replay or Flow replay and watch my qualifying lap. And then I'm fortunate enough that my dad, he videos all my races, so I can watch every single lap, and he's gotten pretty good at it to where you can actually see what the car's doing and what I'm doing right or wrong. And pretty much after every qualifying run, heat race, I watch. And then after the A main, an hour or two after, I'll watch. And then when we get back to the back home, me and Shane will meet up the next day or 2 days later and sit down and watch myself the whole night, watch myself. And then if it's an outlaw race, we'll watch Gravel or whoever was fast that night, and he'll show me, what he's doing right. And we watch a lot of video. I don't really like it, but it's definitely helpful. And I've learned a ton of stuff from watching videos, so it's really important.
I would say it's honestly not much of a different process for myself. really, really focus on the qualifying a lot, especially to get to them big races because um, you want to pay attention to the racetrack and see what's changing and where guys maybe one guy moved and went quick time, or it's later in the session and they picked up some time in certain spots. So that's definitely huge. Definitely say for qualifying. For me, I'm not necessarily traveling around quite often, so being stuck at some of the same racetracks week to week. I can at least look at the racetrack and have a good idea of probably where it's going, that's just the benefit of being local. But, going out to, last year we went to Peevely, we went to Knoxville and Eldora. That's where, I tried to focus as much as I could on any video that I could, maybe throughout the night or just, before the races, right after, anything like that. GoPros are huge. You can kind of see mistakes right up close. And I like those mainly because you kind of go back to your point of view and try and see why you made a decision and if it was just the positioning you were in, where your eyes were, and what you could see, those kinds of things. So um, any piece of information you can go back and examine that is absolutely critical. Again, just to critique yourself because none of us are perfect. I feel like it's very, very rare that you run a perfect race. But it's just anything you can do to help yourself, take advantage of it. And obviously Ryan's on top of that and he's a young guy. So he's got a lot of time to keep doing that. And, for myself, just try and do the same thing because when you're getting whooped by guys like Ryan, you got to kind of think outside the box. I always said from a local level, the Outlaws, All Stars, whoever it may be, sometimes they come in here and whoop up on us, and they just run the track different at times. So yeah, that's just from the experience they have at other places, and you got to be able to watch that. Sometimes for us on a different level, kind of racing local more, you get stuck and you get stuck doing the same thing sometimes, and that's not good. So you always gotta be open-minded and be willing to adapt.
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Ryan. You had Keith Kuntz when you did the midget deal, and then you go with Shane. What's the difference between the two of them?
Honestly, I never really dealt with Keith himself very much. Bo Binder was my crew chief, and I would tell him the biggest difference is Bo. He has a little bit of driving experience himself, but he was never he never really liked to say what you were doing wrong. I think he always just assumed the car could be better, and so I'd come in and tell him what I felt the car could be, where the car could be better, and then I would just have to watch the video and figure it out myself. And I would be honest with him and tell him, like, I think the car was fine. I think I just could have been a little better here, whatever. And then with Shane, it's like, and at Keith Coons, you can have a bad night and they'll just kind of brush it off and move on to the next one. Where with Shane, he's a little more hardcore and a little bit more hard on me. He doesn't like running anywhere besides first, and even when you do win, he'll tell you where you weren't super great at or whatever. And then it's just kind of like you're never perfect. There's always something that you could do better and an area that you can improve. And he's always just trying to get that in my head and show me where I need to be better at.
Chase, I don't know if you guys already covered this, if I missed it or not, but do you make all the decisions on your car, or do you have a crew chief, or how does that work?
No, so Tommy Carl, who actually worked on the Zepco car for the longest time, he
Yes.
actually came with me to the Stamen Motorsports team last year. So I'm actually, and honestly, I hadn't really had a crew chief throughout my career too often. So to work with Tommy's been a major benefit on my end. Kind of allowed me to focus more on my basically driving style, critiquing myself, things like that. So he's I'd say he's probably the same boat as Shane there. Just he wants to win as bad as I do and anyone else, but definitely a different personality of a crew chief. Tommy's one where he's looking to make the car better. As more than just telling me like, hey, need to improve here or there. Now he will say it every now and then, but we got a very, I guess, calm. He's got a very calm personality. And so do I. So, we don't get too wound up about things, but we're just very realistic. So it's just like, look, we come in, if he made a mistake, I made a mistake, we're calling it out to ourselves at that point, and we just go on to the next one. So it's actually it's fun that way, just because look, it's not a screaming and yelling type of environment, but we're going to be the ones to admit like, hey, I messed up, we need to do better here, and so on. So to have that relationship is certainly benefited and is a big part of our success, but at the same time it creates a great environment for us to work in, and allows us to just keep staying focused and on to one race at a time.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night we get Lincoln, and you win there over the weekend, and as race car drivers, including Gordy and Ryan and yourself, I got to know, like, it's got to feel good knowing I'm unloading where I just won at. I don't care who's here. And I mean, you have nothing to prove to anyone. I mean, this guy won the World, won the big one at the Grove last year, and then you come right back, and it's no surprise that you've got 6 wins already there. And I'll guarantee the guys out east who you're racing with, Schuhart and the rest of them, they probably already figured even before you won the other nights, like, man, this 23 car, I better have my shit together to beat this guy. So when you unload tomorrow night, you get a little bit of a chip on your shoulder tomorrow night, knowing, hey, we might be the team to beat here.
Yeah, I'm not one to be arrogant whatsoever. It's just
right.
At some point you have to have the confidence, and you look. I watched Ryan race at Knoxville when we went out there, and I'm telling you, that was the same instinct, the same situation. Comfort. Just you knew where you needed to be. You knew what you were, what your car was going to do. Everything. It just when you have that, it just makes it a whole lot simpler for you throughout a night, and you're not second guessing anything. You're just simply focused on, look, I need to do this. Once I do this, I need to do this. Yeah, it's just one step at a time, and you start checking that stuff off. The biggest benefit in, I feel, anything besides racing, just life in general, or any sport, whatever it may be, is simply the mentality aspect. So when you can go into it with all that confidence and comfortability, you're way ahead of the rest of the field at that point. So I mean, we've been very, very strong at Lincoln. I feel for the experience I have too. I feel I should be, but we're just clicking at that point. It's a little different tomorrow. Just it's a matter of we just need to do our job. But it's just another race, and we got the team to do it. So we'll go in there just like we have all year long, and see what we can do.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure too, obviously, right, it's like both of you kind of have your honey holes, I guess you'd call them now, right? You have your Port Royals and you've got Lincoln and all that stuff in there, and Ryan has made Knoxville look way easier than any kid his age has ever made it look. But, it's funny, go back to what you were saying about when you race at the same places, sometimes it's hard because you kind of do the same things over and over again. And I can remember back when I ran at my mom and dad's track, that's all I did for like 5 years in a row. And at one point I finally told my dad, I was like, I have to go race somewhere else for like 2 months. Cause if I just keep racing here, I kept running 10th at every Lucas race or every Summer National race. And I'm like, I'm never going to get better because these guys come in here and they race completely different styles and lines than I do. And you're doing something different. But would you say, kind of really for both of you, those notebooks you build throughout the year, when you look back on races from 25 and 24 and 23 and some of that stuff, well, I don't know if Ryan was even running sprint cars in 23. It might have been, but anyways, it's like, when you build off those notebooks, how much of that stuff are you really keeping pretty similar? Obviously, like you're saying, like you race there every week, but tires have changed and some of the rules have changed. Are you guys still basing a lot of what you've done in the past off of what you do now, or has that changed in the last year or two?
As far as setup stuff, I feel like we're always at Knoxville. We're always pretty close every night to what we do in the heat race, qualifying, and feature. And then the track at Knoxville is always a little different, but it's pretty similar for the most part. And the lines are pretty similar to what you normally do. And I think a lot of it is just at any half mile is your choices for the first 2 or 3 laps, especially the first corner. Just where you position yourself and where you end up coming out of turn 2. And then I really don't give a lot of setup input or anything. I just try to focus on the driving, and then if I'm a little tight or whatever, I just try to manipulate it or do what I can to make it better, whether it's just driving the car different or moving the wing or whatever. And but I feel like Knoxville, Houston, it's always, you got about 3 choices that you can make, bottom, top, or middle, or sliding yourself. And then you just kind of got to see what the guy in front of you is doing and basically go where he's not. And, do the best you can at keeping speed and momentum up. And then it's just about racecraft, I feel like, and racing with the other guys.
Chase, I'm curious, man.
Hold on, I got to know Chase's. I got to know Chase. I got to hear this. Yeah, go for it.
No, so I mean, just as far as going back to any setup stuff, I feel once you find some type of comfortability at one place, you really don't have to do much of anything anywhere else. It's really just the tweaks. Trust me, I'm by no far an expert in a crew chief, but again, when you can be comfortable at one place and you can make just very small adjustments to take it to the next one, and you might not be perfect, but you don't got to be perfect. You just got to be again comfortable. When you can head into a place comfortable, it puts you in a good place, a good starting spot, and it's not rocket science. Everyone's different too. Ryan's going to like a different car from what I like. And that's what kind of makes it pretty interesting. So, we all pretty much run the same stuff for the most part, but there's always different combinations. But I think the biggest thing, from my end, and which I've done the last couple of years, was being able to get out to different racetracks. I had been stuck in Pennsylvania for a very long time, and I've always wanted to get Eldora. I wanted to get to Knoxville, and when I was able to do that, look, last year we got our butts handed to us every single time. We went to Peevely, Knoxville, and Eldora, but every single time we came home, the next race, I'm pretty sure we won or we were very good. So just because we thought outside the box a little bit, you got to get out of your comfort zone. It's just you get stuck in that box all the time. You're afraid to do other things, and that's something me and Tommy both that kind of went through last year. Was Tommy Carl had been at Port Royal for, I'd say, at least 10 straight years, just focusing on Port Royal with the Zemco car. And, they had been there for that long. Like, that's all he was set up for and all his focus was on. And you kind of have to get out of that mentality. And, for myself, it's kind of the same way with these places. So that's why again, from getting to different racetracks, but also watching different people race at your tracks and things like that, it makes a difference. Studying is huge, and like Ryan at Knoxville, been pretty dominant and doing things that other guys ain't doing. So it's just that's that adaptation and just making sure as a driver and a team you're always open-minded. Simple as that.
Chase, what was your experience like when you went to Peevely last year?
Yeah, I want to know that.
I mean, what was it like coming in? I remember, I was there. It was a cold. I was jacked, but I mean, what were your kind of like? What's your thoughts on that?
I was going back and I had raced the World of Outlaw 2002 sprint car game so much. I was trying to base it off that experience, but that place is wild. I mean, just the amount of speed the place has for how small it is unreal. And I had watched so many videos, going out there way before then, and even when we were still there. And the track when we got out there last year, it was so slick both nights. And I'm like, heck, I hadn't seen that slick in any of the videos I'd even watched the last couple of years, But just wild. And Ryan, he was there. He was ripping the wall down, I think, every night. But just I'd say it was pretty similar to, not quite the same, but similar in size to like a Path Valley, at least here at home. But Path Valley didn't have the speed that place does. It was pretty much insane. No matter what lap you were on, no matter what race you were in, other than maybe qualifying, you were around someone the entire time, and you made one wrong move, a guy's sliding you, or they're to the inside, the outside. It was definitely insane. So I'm looking forward to getting back there one of these days.
Yeah, that's where I grew up racing. My dad raced there for years and years, and then when I grew up, we went to Tri-City on Fridays and we went to Peevely on Saturdays. And so, I mean, I've made a million laps around there, and it's probably about like your guys' feel, right? Like you go to these half miles now and you guys are comfortable. When I go to a half mile, I'm extremely uncomfortable, right? Like we don't race at half miles. We race at 3/8 miles and quarter miles that are bull rings and stuff. And it's always interesting to hear guys' points of views when they come in and race that place for the first time, because no different than like I said, when guys come to Port Royal or they come to Knoxville, you're like, oh yeah, all you just do is run in here wide ass open and you just turn a little bit and you're good. Like when I go to Peevely, I'm like, well, I know in qualifying you can kind of slide yourself here or make a bunch of speed, or you don't have to lift here. But it's crazy, we all carry a lot of speed anywhere we go, right? Any place we go to, we're all hauling ass in some way. But when you go to somewhere new that you don't know what the wall looks like, you don't know what it feels like to hit it, or anything like that, like that kind of doubt in your mind, like, can I really just haul ass off in here? It's crazy how that little bit of a fear sets in. And the guys that go to places and win their first time like that, like you see some of the guys do that, it's pretty remarkable, I think, because like that's one of the hardest things to do. Show up somewhere you've never been and just flat out get it, and just it's no problem. You just don't see it, but it always cracks me up when I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, I just played the sprint car game. Like that's what I always looked at, was go back and play the sprint car game. And I'm thinking like, man, I'm so glad they put the backstretch gate up where they have it now, because that when it was a blunt opening, it was scary. It was very scary. So yeah, there were some spectacular crashes on the O2 Outlaws games right there, I can promise you.
Gordy, talk about the first time that you went to Port Royal.
Oh God,
this ought to be good. His first time when he went to Port.
Yeah, so the first time I went to Port Royal, one of the things, for one, I had always thought about wanting to go to Port Royal because I always wanted to watch Macri run the fence, right? That was like my thing. I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to go up here and watch him run the fence. Well, also I have to race that night, so I get out there and like I can just remember it being extremely slick, like early on. It was slick to a thin curve by the time we were qualifying. And I'm like, man, this is not what the video I've watched on this place at all. Naturally, I draw like, I think if we draw out 100, I drew 99. So I'm the last car to go out in Group B. It's dead slick all the way up on the fence. And Shane Clanton that we race with is like, dude, all you got to do is just run wide ass open down in there. You're going to get to the corner. You're just barely going to lift and you'll rip right around here. It's no problem. And I was like, yeah, that sounds so easy. Well, the sun sets over 3 and 4. And so I'm trucking down the backstretch and I'm like, dude, I can't even see this fucking corner, let alone go up in here wide open. I'd like lift the first time. By the time I lift and like look down underneath, I'm like, damn, I still have like 40 foot of straightaway to go. Like I'm not even to the end of the straightaway yet. And yeah, it was just like a not great night. I think I finished like 17th in the feature, took a provisional, like just so terrible. So at the end of the night, I'm like, the good news is I'll at least get to watch Macri rip the fence. All will be good. So I literally park at the trailer, kind of talk with my guys for a minute. I hear them push the feature off. I'm like, oh, I'll go change. By the time I come back up there, they crashed like half the field on lap 1 and Macri was right in the middle of it, and I didn't even get to watch him do that. So I was like, this is just a terrible trip. This was all bad, and I can't wait to get out of here. So, yeah, right. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I love Port Royal, like as a facility, the racetrack. I wish it wasn't so far for me to drive out there, because if it was 6 hours from the house, I'd go there 10 times a year, just to get better there. And like, that place is so cool. And the just the nostalgicness of it is really neat. And, it reminds me a lot of like what Fairbury is for us, because it's right in the middle of town. It's just really, really a cool place. And I mean, how we watch so much good racing from there. Oh. I feel like every race we watch with you guys racing there is just unbelievable. So it makes me kind of like mad that I don't get to go experience it all the time, and race with you guys, and see all that. But hopefully we'll get back out on the road and come back up that way soon.
Ryan, what do you think of Port Royal?
I love Port Royal. It's funny that you said that. One of the most scared times I've ever been in a race car was at Port Royal. We went out there for the first time, I think that year, a couple years ago, in my family car, and it was dead slick all the way on the fence in qualifying. And I was just sitting there in the infield watching everyone qualify on my phone, and I hadn't been on a half mile like that. That's that slick, and you're pounding the wall like all year. And I mean, just butterflies, and I'm shaking, and it was terrifying. And luckily I didn't lay a good lap down, but I was able to run up there and not crash. But no, Port Royal it's unlike any other track I've raced on. There's like strips of moisture throughout the track, and for the most part it's just on the wall or right against the inside wall. And then there's guys like Chase or Dietz that can make the middle work somehow. And it's just really unique. But it's and then I mean, the long straightaways, you got so much time to think about the corner or look at the corner coming up. You don't think you're gonna make the corner. And but it's a really fun racetrack, and very challenging for sure.
Yeah, he didn't make it look too challenging last year.
Yeah. Clearly Ryan's a pretty quick learner here. He excels at the quick learning, as we've seen. But I thought it was crazy that first time when I went to Port Royal, when you realized that the front stretch has like a kind of like a hump in it, where like you kind of climb up to it and then it runs back down going into one. And that's what we were standing up there looking at it, and I'm like, that's how you know you have long straightaways, when you have an incline and a decline, and it doesn't really, like when you're racing it doesn't feel as bad, but when you're looking at it, you're like, what in the hell are we getting ready to race on? You're like, damn, doesn't even look right. But it is so cool, and like it's just it's an awesome facility. It really is. But yeah, I'd be interested, Ryan. I came up to you last year after you win Knoxville and hang out with you and stuff and get to congratulate you. But what was that? When was your first moment at Knoxville when it all felt like it clicked for you? I guess not so much the Nationals, but at the racetrack. Like, where was that time where you're like, damn, that's what I need to do here to make speed?
I would say it probably didn't. It was kind of like a progression thing. It didn't really click until I don't feel like I ever felt like I was capable of winning against outlaw guys until after my prelim night of the Nationals. All the way up until that, it was just like it was local shows, and the first local show I won there, I won, but I was out of control, and I looked just like a squirrel out there. And every night it was that way up until um, my prelim. Really, even at the Cappy, I wasn't very good. Wasn't very good, and I don't know. It clicked at the perfect time, and I just treated it like a local show and didn't think too much about it, and just kind of studied all the video from all year, and then just racing there a ton. It just slowly progressed and finally clicked in time for nationals. And I mean, I never would have guessed I would have won it within, not last year, but definitely even this year. I wouldn't have been able to think that I'd win again, but um, it probably didn't click until then. And then this past weekend at the Outlaw race, it felt like I'm really confident and comfortable enough to actually believe that I can win against anyone there.
You know, Ryan, I'm curious. Like when they had to stop the feature last year, here you have this lead, and the big talk was among everybody is like, is he going to be able to handle the pressure? You know, in the closing laps or whatever. You put everybody's thoughts to bed pretty quick there when you watch that feature, because I've talked to a lot of car owners, and they will tell you it's like that was more impressive, just the fact that what had to be going through the maturation, that second half of the race, because you put every doubter and everybody pretty much to bed that night. And I'd be curious to know, like, when you had that break and you were going through it, what were some of the thoughts that were going through your mind before we went back green?
I don't feel like I was ever. I mean, there was pressure for sure, but it never got to the point where it was like overwhelming. Um, I was just so focused on driving the car and hitting the line and doing everything right, um, that I could, that I wasn't thinking about like the fact it is the Knoxville Nationals. The first 25 laps went by like super quick. I thought we were on lap 15 and they threw the yellow and it was halfway, and I was really shocked that we were already at the 25. And then um, I came in and I just asked like, am I doing everything good? Do I need to be switching my lineup? Like, what do I need to do? And Shane just told me I was doing everything right so far. I don't need to change anything. Just keep doing the same thing. And then from there on, it's just solely thinking about the racetrack, my line, just everything that I can control, and not looking up at the stands or letting any of that sink in too much. And then I was just trying to think of it as just thinking of, it's just another race, and not letting all the hype get to my head or anything. And then Shane Stewart, he told me then the day or two before, just do your best, and then if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I thought about that for that whole night and then all day leading up to it. And um, I knew that, I can only control so much. I'll just do the best I can. And I'm on the pole of the Nationals and I won a prelim, so I'm happy with that no matter where I finish. And I almost like wish I could relive it and enjoy it a little bit more, because I mean, I did enjoy it, but it just didn't feel real at all. Like it was so unexpected, and I never thought it would happen. And when it happened, it's like, it didn't even set in until a day or two later. And it's just like, holy crap, like this is unbelievable.
You know who I can tell you it did set in for was your old man. He was, so the quick background is I've known your dad for a long time. We raced late models together and all this stuff. And I can remember running into him somewhere between before I ever saw you, later that night. And I remember seeing Randy and he was so excited he couldn't even talk when I first saw him, and I'm like, dude, I can't believe it. And he said something along those like, neither the fuck can I, and it was just so awesome because like he was just obviously so proud of you anyways, and he loves you and he's done so much for you, but just seeing the pure excitement and joy on his face was so worth it. I was like, this is so cool to see all of this happen into one, because hell, when I was racing with your dad, like you were just this little shit running around the pit area, like you weren't even racing yet. So it's like to see all that build up was really, really cool. And like I said, seeing his excitement, that was all you needed to see really that night to know if the Timms family was enjoying it or not, because Randy enjoyed it for everybody.
Yeah. If we weren't enjoying it, he definitely had us all covered.
Chase, when you watched the Knoxville Nationals last year and you saw what was going on, what were some of the things going through your mind watching Ryan?
Honestly, I was just impressed with the dominance. Kind of listening to him just talk right there, like you could tell it just in the zone. Nothing was phasing him, and again, the big thing was, he got to, I think it was right before the halfway point. I think he might have got to traffic, and there was like one close call, I think through 3 and 4.
Look, he's already not.
I was gonna say, I remember it.
Yeah, I'm like, don't touch him. You were gone, and I figured like, look, you get a good start on this restart. I mean, they weren't touching you again, and look, when it just shows the preparation. I mean, like Ryan's thinking the way you need to. It's just you prepare that much that look, you're gonna get the butterflies. You're gonna get excited, but you're sitting in the car. You're in a whole different perspective, and you get out on the track, and basically about the time you hit the gas pedal, all of that stuff's gone. So that's where it really just, you could tell it came down to the preparation in his head and his team, and I was again just impressed by the dominance. So. Not one time was anyone showing a nose. So when you can do that in Knoxville Nationals, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
One of the things I got to tell both of you guys while we're on the show with Gordy here is what I'm really impressed with is how much Ryan looks up to you and what he thinks about you, and the same and vice versa. And yet we got a PA and an Oklahoma kid. And to me, I can't be more to tell you how much I love our show. What we do is right here. Is a perfect example of seeing the respect. I love it, guys. Really, it means a lot to me to see this. Right before my eyes.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I can't thank you enough.
Yeah. Well, Chase, I'd like to know this too. So we watched this race at Port Royal a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you guys are slicing and dicing through traffic, I want to say you might have been like 4 or 5 wide. They're coming racing for the lead. What is, when you're in the race car and those things are happening, a lot of people at home don't, obviously they've never sat in a race car and they've never seen what this is like, but what is your mindset when you know it's time to go and it's kind of hairy? How does that, how is it like, well, shit, I'm just got to go for it? How does that operate with you, right? Is that just straight feel, or is it like, damn, I'm ready to win it or wear it, or what is that mindset like, I guess you'd say?
It just really, it depends on the situation where you're in. Like when you're say starting, obviously not from the pole, you're always chasing, and I mean, you got a different mentality at that point. That example the other week at Port, I got to lead quick, and I knew my pace had slowed down, and where I wanted to run was about bottom middle where that 69K was. And, when we got to the end there, he snookered me, he snuck me down there on the bottom and rolled right around the middle of me. And, at that point I was like, well, there's only one place I can go at that point, because he ain't leaving the bottom middle. So we got the traffic, and I mean, you could tell, you could see the switch in my head kind of go off, because I was making the tight spot, and trying to get myself there. And those are the times, like, there's times you pace, there's times you don't, other guys don't do that. I try and race pretty smart, and either on last 5 laps, it's all or nothing. So we got to that point and just had to take it, and didn't really work out, but it's just how it goes sometimes.
I love it. Well, and that's the thing. That's what's I've always been so impressed with any of you guys that run sprint car stuff, right? Like, I come from a late model background, but I love sprint car racing. But the way that our cars race, I would say later in features is pretty drastically different. Like a lot more times for us, I would say we're more finessing, always kind of having to use the middle, or kind of using the whole racetrack, where I feel like at the end of your guys' races, like there's not much tire left, and it's like I'm going to get up here in the fence or wherever it's at and just beat the living shit out of this thing. But also running, 120 mile an hour still. Like, you guys carry way more speed at the ends of any of these races than we do. And so it's always been impressive to me to watch you guys kind of handle that, because like you come and you guys can't hardly see shit out of the right side of your race cars. And watching how you have to, really get around these places is just so impressive. And it's cool to see how you guys are able to still manufacture different lines and kind of get up there and race around, compared to, like, for us, a lot of times by the end of the race, we're all kind of doing the same thing. And your guys, especially the bigger racetracks, it seems to be a little more wide open, I would say, at the end, because you don't have the tire left or whatever it may be. And I don't know. That's why I'm just always love watching sprint car racing so much, because, like, it's similar in a way, but it's not, and I'm like just awed by it, because I'm like, I know it's not easy, and you guys make it look unfathomably easy at the ends of some of these races. Like, watching you guys damn near wall ride at Port Royal when it's that thin is like, there's no way I could ever do that in a race car. Like, I'm 100% sure of it. But you guys get up there and do it like it's no big deal.
Well, that wing certainly makes it comfortable, so that makes a big difference.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's a whole different ball game watching that happen. But it is really, really impressive to see. And the fact that you guys can move your wings around, obviously I watch Donnie a ton, and watching him, he's always, when he's got the wing in the trunk, if he's in the middle of the racetrack and he starts making speed, like, I know you better kind of get the fuck out of the way, because the 15's on the move. But when you guys have those adjustments, right, is moving the wing around, like, I know, Ryan, you kind of mentioned it, but is that something that you guys do a lot, that you're really focusing on? Or, I know some guys do play with that stuff. Like in our cars, we can move front brake and rear brake around on ours. And there's some guys I know that will never touch that deal. I move mine every feature race. Like, I'll always start in a certain position. I try to, if I'm trying to get tighter, I'll always end up more front brake. Are you guys pretty avidly working on where your wing's at? Or are you more of somebody like, hey, I'm going to leave it exactly where it is?
I think you always got to be working on that thing. Just because factors change, like Ryan was talking earlier about just dirty air. Especially if you get to the big half miles and stuff. Some of that can just be situational. You got to put your car in a different spot than where the guy in front of it is. But you get to the small tracks and stuff, like if you're not feeling good, just crank the wing and see what happens. It's probably going to make you feel a little better, at least. If not, well, you're just going to have to run it, But it's probably the most critical part of a sprint car. And once you learn how to use it to your advantage, especially when you can tweak it yourself without even touching the wing, but just put the car in a different spot on the track, it's certainly going to benefit you. So it's the biggest tool you have, and the only tool, pretty much for the driver. But you gotta learn to use it and how. But once you figure it out, it's that's the biggest advantage you got.
Yeah, huge advantage. I personally am not very good about remembering that it's there, and I'm slowly getting better about using it, and using it at the right times, and knowing when the car is kind of going away. You bump it back a little bit, and then it's like, oh, that feels way better. But yeah, just as the race goes on and the track gets slicker, your fuel burns off, tires go away. It's definitely important to start getting it back and kind of dialing your car back in. And yeah, like I said, that's the biggest problem I feel like I kind of have is I probably don't use it as much as I should or as much as other guys. Um, but I've been seeing a lot of examples where I get it back and it feels so much better, and it takes me from being just kind of sitting still and not going anywhere to finally gaining ground on someone or advancing a couple more spots or whatever. So it's a big tool.
I got to know real quick. Have you got to the end of a race recently where you haven't moved it and your crew chief's been like, hey, did we move the swing at all? And you got to tell them no. I want to know what that conversation's like.
Yeah, that happens actually pretty often. Or I'll say I was getting loose or complaining about no drive down the straightaways. He's like, well, you didn't move your wing at all. I was like, yeah, I could have probably done that. There's been races where I haven't moved it. I mean, the Nationals, I didn't move it at all. And I think it just depends on the track too. Like Nationals, the track wasn't super slick and I was in moisture pretty much the whole time, so you didn't really need to. And then you had a cushion to lean on in one corner, and then Port Royal, I got it back a little bit there. But honestly, I feel like our car's always normally pretty good at the end of races, and I should move it back more, but I definitely forget.
Oh shit!
I'm sure you're going to be reminded this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This will probably be the weekend that it culminates to where you better put that thing back. Because if you don't, you're only going to have about half of one ass cheek left.
Hey guys, how cool was it last Saturday with the free admission at Knoxville to see that crowd? I mean, they said it was the biggest crowd they ever had, that wasn't a sanctioned event.
Yeah, it looked like it.
And
Yeah, it was packed. I think the grandstands on the front stretch holds 15,000 people, and it looked like if you were to cram everyone together, it would have probably been 5,000 to 10,000 people that were in there. It was packed house. I'm pretty sure there was more people there for that night than there was for the Outlaw show.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I was going to say it looked full.
Chase, did you get a chance to see the crowd the other night?
I'd seen a photo, I think, either Knoxville or the Outlaws post, and I thought it was wild. And we were actually, so I was just talking about this with someone, but like Baps Motor Speedway here in Home, they're putting on a $5 admission event here in June. So look, that's the kind of stuff you love to see from the tracks, the sport, just because you got to get new people there, and
That's right.
we want to see the fans in the stands, all the time. But it's neat to see the kind of the different ideas that these tracks are coming up with to do those things. So we need it as a sport, and certainly cool to obviously see it successful.
Yeah,
and I want to talk about the growth of our sport right now. We look at it. There's more professional big teams out there than we've seen, and naturally, I think naturally having the two powerhouse series out there, both of them, is great for the sport. It's created more opportunity for you guys, more money, And I'm anxious to hear, naturally, Chase, you're going to be racing with the Outlaws this week in Williams Grove. Then you turn around 2 weeks later at Port Royal and you get the high limit guys, to come in. And it's got to be really exciting for, Ryan. Ryan's been running these Tuesday night races, ran the high limit early in the year, and then ran with the Outlaws. And I'd like to know what your thoughts kind of are on, naturally, you're getting all these great opportunities in racing with both series.
Yeah, it's the like at Knoxville, they went over the intercom or over the PA or the announcer. He asked how many new fans are here, and it seemed like half the stands was cheering. So it was really cool. And then after the race, there was people that came down, and you could tell it was their first time, or they'd be like, "Yeah, first race," and all of them they said they loved it. So it's really cool. I don't think there's not very many people that go to a sprint car race for the first time that don't think it's pretty awesome. And it's awesome. It helps all of us drivers. It helps everyone involved in racing. We wouldn't be racing if it wasn't for the fans. So they're the most important part of it. And I'm all for anything that grows the sport of it. I think High Limit's doing a great job with the FS1 deal and racing during the week. Even the midweek races, they get a ton of people, and it's on a Tuesday or Wednesday Wednesday night when everyone has work the next day. So it's really cool, and I do think sprint car racing is growing for sure.
Yeah, and well, you get all those big events with the big series. It's it's critical, I think, to have those series come to your area. More look, it gives more recognition to those tracks as well as the teams and those drivers. More money up for the grabs, things like that. But here in Pennsylvania, we're very lucky to have so many races. Aside from just the amount that we could race locally, those series are coming into our area quite a bit. So,
Mhm.
just like you were talking earlier, we got the Outlaws this week, the Weicker coming up with High Limit, and we have a midweek show that week. It's a lot going on, and it's great. It's great for the areas. I think it's just a matter of, again, I think the sport adapting to what we're seeing right now. I feel as a sport we're kind of probably late on the streaming and things like that, but we've seen the adaption, and now we're seeing things on FS1. Flow Racing really taking over. Dirt Vision's doing an awesome job with just quality for what they present for everyone. And we need to continue to adapt as a sport. So hopefully we can continue to bring more of these big races into different areas across the country, but also you keep in mind the local scene, and try and do as much as we can to help that end, because that's where it all starts. So a lot of great stuff going on, and hopefully we can continue to build off of what we got going on right now in the racing industry.
Chase, I got to know, for you being a PA guy, being a posse guy, right? When all these people come in, right? Obviously, your fan base grows in a hurry when the Outlaws and High Limit come in. But what's it like, kind of transition that? Because I'm sure during the weeks, now you're winning these races. I'm sure you're kind of losing some of that fan base because they're probably sick of seeing you winning. What's it like though when all of a sudden you win and those people are standing up there cheering for you because you're a PA guy winning some of this stuff? What's that like? That dynamic of fans and all of that, the interchanges.
It's pretty entertaining, honestly. Like, even just the local fans at a local race sometimes. I mean, they'll go from one end to the next. Sometimes it's pretty interesting. But you get the big races coming up, like we'll see tomorrow, and then the Grove. I mean, it doesn't really matter what side you're on. Sometimes, like, everyone's wound up. But I can tell you, our local fans, they go nuts over these races. So if it's a Danny Dietrich or a Freddie Raymer who have, they have fans, really strong loyalty and fans there. But They're normally fighting each other, it seems like, every week on a local basis, but they come together pretty good on all these. It's wild to see, but they respect our drivers, our teams, and it makes it such an event. Honestly, you have that atmosphere, and the goal for us is to make sure these guys coming in don't win at our tracks, and trust me, when you can do that, it's pretty darn cool to see the amount of fans that support what we have going on here. So I'm looking forward to that here this coming week.
Well, I think it's great. I think when you look at Lincoln in Ryan, I'm curious, like tomorrow night, you going to be watching Ryan tomorrow night?
I'll be watching.
Just like all of us. I mean, it's just one of those that when in Outlaws versus PA, it's kind of like, I think that's the other thing about Knoxville. Knoxville has a very underrated top 15 guys win. The Outlaws coming down. I mean, we saw J.J. Hickle, what he did last week, a couple weeks ago with the Outlaw deal. And the same thing, when it goes this week, I think when you look at when Pennsylvania and the World of Outlaws or High Limit come in versus the Dietrichs and Dietzes and Mackers of the world, it's must-see TV.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the first thing I'm looking at when I watch a PA Outlaw race is to see what local guys are running up front.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to see, because if you turn it on a little bit late, like say you don't catch the first 5 laps of the feature, and then all of a sudden you look up there and notice that there's 2 PA guys in the top 3, it's like, oh shit, here we go. Like, because we know, I'm sure at that point that it's not pressure, but that energy that you have probably in you to win that race is growing, because it's like that obviously means so much to the state of Pennsylvania, the PA posse, like winning those races. They want to make sure that they could tell everybody that the Outlaws or High Limit did not win, in their territory, because we see it reciprocated on any social media. If the Outlaws or High Limit win, they make sure to let the posse know that they went in there, and at least, even if they only got one of them, they're going to make sure they let them know. And I think it's probably, I would say in racing, whether it's late models or sprint cars, that's really the only real rivalry that I would consider outside of anybody if they want to do the High Limit Outlaw stuff, but I don't really count that. Like, the other stuff to me, like that, the PA posse versus whoever's coming in is our Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, right? Like it just 100% is, and it's cool to see the hype around all of it. It's cool to see the social medias get involved, and you see the victory lane celebrations, and you always get somebody that makes sure to let them know that the posse kept it and all of that. Like, I love it. I can never get enough of watching those races. I think now that I went and raced in PA as well, and seen the fans and how they, come in droves. Actually, the best I would think we went to Williams Grove that year. I want to say it was just a regular 410 show at Williams Grove. They ran the sprint cars first. By the time the sprint cars left, there was like 400 people left in the grandstands to watch our Outlaws our A main. So they were like, well, the show's over. We're leaving. And we're like, all right, yeah, see you guys later. So
I thought one of the most interesting things that happened last year was when Aaron won the Weikert. When he got on top of the wing, of course, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
They were giving him the business pretty good there. And I'm sure, and Aaron be the first one to say, yeah, I'm good at giving it back too, so I think that's what brings it. I think that's what you enjoy, watching the passion of you guys. I love it. All of you, what you bring to the table. And Chase, when you won the World of Outlaws show last year, when you did it at the Grove, here it is, man, Williams Grove, Chase Dietz, 23 car. That had to be very exhilarating.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be honest though, I was so stressed coming up to that week. We had made some different choices in what we were kind of going there with, and I can tell you right now, all I was focused on was hot laps. I get around hot laps and be like, man, I'll know if we have speed or not, and we did. And I was like, that point, it's just full focus. But the coolest part of all of that was, kind of going back to this rivalry was the fact that, we swept the podium that night, the Posse guys. So, and to be able to race those guys for the win, that was really neat. Lance, I think I'd just taken the lead from Macedo, and heck, I'm coming down the front stretch and Lance is underneath me. And I was like, God damn, I just thought I cleared him. I thought I was good, but that's how those races are, the intensity. I mean, look, Lance has been doing this for a long time, and look, he still wants that. He really wanted that win, and everyone just steps it up a notch, and that's what it's all about. I take that from our local racing scene. Kind of Anthony Macri kind of set the standard there. I feel for us, and I've been trying to get after him as much as I could. And, I'm looking forward for him to get back because, again, he kind of stepped up the program for everyone and, gave us something to chase at that point. But, when you have these big races and these, series come in, that's when that intensity level, rises, and it's certainly way different than just a local race. So, the focus you had, you go a little extra, every time you hit one of these races. So, that's what I love about it so much. And, just the passion everyone has for it. Everyone in the sport understands, when you get these races, this is what it's all about. And, as a kid, this is all you thought about doing it and beating these guys and winning these races. So it's certainly exciting. And that was just an awesome moment for me. And kind of the same as Ryan, probably with the Nationals. Felt like I didn't enjoy it as much as I maybe wanted to, but, going back and watching the race and things, the day after and stuff, or, 2 days after, it really sunk in. But, the next day was the National Open. So it was a matter of focusing right back on that for the big one. But there's always the next one you're looking at. So you enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
The other thing is I want to talk about Knoxville. Chase, you go out there last year with this thing, your first time you guys go out there. This year, I noticed you're coming back in June. You're gonna go hit the Outlaw Show in June. So it's obvious the team has made the investment. That we're gonna get there, and then I see where you're gonna be racing again. You're gonna be going out there to the 360 Nationals, so you're gonna get some seat time, and maybe Ryan can even help you with some notes. And I'm excited. How excited are you looking at this year for Knoxville?
I'm honestly really looking forward to it, especially with the speed we have. But got a little bit of seat time there last year. Our plan for June is to get back out there and just kind of do the same thing, try and get that seat time and get prepared for the Nationals. And you got to be realistic about it. We don't have the track time, but I feel you got to go out there with confidence. Tommy Carl have been out there a number of times with the Zemco deal and raced with Lasowski and a couple other guys that have run really well out there. So it's just, again, confidence in each other. You get the time and experience on the track, and for me, that's going to be the biggest thing. Trying to pay attention to what Ryan does out there and kind of everyone else, and figuring out where to be, what to do. That's going to be critical. So I'm hoping I can at least get out there, get some more track time, and we'll look forward to the Nationals again here in August.
Are you going to do a special paint scheme? Or are you going to do anything cool?
Yeah, just like everyone else, we'll bring out something new. So.
Yeah, Ryan, you're going to do something cool for the Nationals, right? I mean, you guys got to have something kind of in the works too.
Yeah, we're doing something. I don't know what it's going to be. Last year we just changed the red to a chrome red. So I don't know if we're going to do something similar to what we have or go, completely all out and do something totally different, but we'll definitely be doing something.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about going there is that, we do that when we go to the World 100 and some of those places like at Eldora that, we switch up our schemes and stuff. But going to Knoxville and checking out everybody's kind of new wraps or, what kind of new flair they put on theirs, I think is always so cool. Seeing your guys' cars under the lights at Knoxville, on that Saturday is like, you can't explain it to people. I've vowed to never miss another Knoxville Nationals after going the last, I guess, 4 or 5 years now, and I promise I never will, because there's just something about that place that you can't explain what the Saturday day of Knoxville really is like until you experience it, and then you just never want to miss it again. Right. So I've even drug a couple of my late model buddies there. Chris Simpson that we had on the show last week, he came to Knoxville last year and sat in the suite with us, and he's already said he's coming back this year. So, it's cool to see, I think obviously it has a lot to do with how far our sport has stretched as far as the streaming and the national viewership we get now, that, some businesses want to be a part of that stuff, and they want some cool cars and they want new wraps and all these different things. And that's a huge sponsor spotlight event when you got thousands and thousands of people and what we do all year culminates into those big events. So it's cool when you guys do stuff like that to kind of show off what you guys have built as your programs and your sponsors and all that stuff. So, I'm looking forward to when they start launching out the new wraps and all that good stuff come August time. So, hell, I'm driving literally straight from Cedar Lake. We race Cedar Lake, and I'm driving down because this year I'm going to the Cappy, and we're going to Oski and all that. I'm doing the whole week. I'm not missing any of it. I'm going to do all of it. So,
and we got 2 Dirt Parlor shows.
Yep.
This year we're going to have one at the Hall of Fame, and then we'll have one on the rooftop at the Clausen Tower.
Yeah.
So, boys, you might want to join us again for those.
No doubt.
So we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff. So that's how invested we are into it. It's a great week. It's incredible, but more than anything, I'm just proud to be a part of trying to help the growth of sprint car racing and dirt racing in general. That's what we're here for, and you guys are definitely a part of that program.
No doubt.
Yeah, count me in if you guys do that deal. Same here.
We're definitely going to have to bring back last year's Knoxville Nationals winner. That would be wrong of us not to do it.
Yeah. We don't need him pissed off at us.
Hey, actually, speaking of that, I don't know if you guys would know this. Does PA, does PAA have guys that have won the Knoxville Nationals? I truly don't know, so I'm not trying to take a dig at anybody. So PA fans, if you're listening, please don't come at me. But has somebody that's been a part of the posse won the Knoxville Nationals? Dietz?
Look, listen.
Yeah.
One of the biggest years was in the Zimco ride. I really thought Billy Pouch was in the Zimco ride, and that was the year that I actually thought that they had a shot. Because Billy was having an unbelievable year, and he loved Knoxville, was so good the 2 years before it. And in hot laps, he got his nose broke.
Oh, shit.
By a rock. And I'll never forget it. It would just ruin my whole week. For a lot of people, because they were so stoked because he was so good. And Anthony's proven that is getting better and better there too. And Chase, you got to tell me, being a Pennsylvania guy, when Anthony won the Kings last year, that was a pretty big moment for the PA posse, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, that was to me, it was mixed emotions. We had a good week, so I was extremely happy to see Anthony win, but I'm pissed at the same time. Heck, I race against him all the time, and that's where I want to be as well. So it's just when you see that, you have a lot of respect for that, because heck, I've raced with Anthony since the micro days, and it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's wild to see all that pay off. So really, really cool moments. When you see these guys win these races, heck, I feel like it gives everyone chills, with anyone that has, respect for the sport. So, again, those are the moments we all work towards and we want to get to.
Yeah.
We miss Anthony right now. We all do. We do. And I know Casey's going to be in the car. It's not the same. I'm not taking anything away from Casey Kane, but we all know Anthony Macri is Anthony Macri.
Yeah.
And naturally, anytime we see the 39M in the pit area, it's like you're not going to be surprised to see him beat anybody. He's just that good. And that takes me to this point, guys, and I'd like to know kind of your thoughts on, if we've seen some back injuries here lately. Last year we saw some incidents at Eldora and stuff, and you two guys are major part of the sport, major fiber of the sport. What do we need to do? What are we seeing out there? Naturally, we know the speeds are what they are, but I'm just curious to know what do we need to do to get ourselves in a better safety spot in these race cars right now?
I'd say there's we're a little different from NASCAR. I'd say where, they got a lot of time and money put into the safety aspect that, sprint car racing probably won't ever see. And that's a big part of it. We need data, we need information to fully understand, like, look, what's actually causing these issues. And, we feel as a sport we're doing as much as we can to, enhance safety and do all these things. And, all in all, it really just comes down to, we need that data. We need to understand more of, what's causing this, the impacts, things like that. Unfortunately, I don't feel that we're ever really gonna, get rid of them. It's just kind of, I feel, part of the sport, but unfortunately, we have seen that rise in the injuries and impacts in the last couple of years. But, I kind of sometimes look at it as like natural disasters. You could have a lot here in a short period, and there's others you won't see, for a little while. So, all we can do is honestly, from driver to driver and team to team, have confidence that, we're going out there with the safest car and safest equipment we can at that point. And, as long as we're all on that same page, then, that's about all we can do right now. But I think we just need to get some more information and more data to find out exactly how we can make things better and make things better without costing every single team in the country. Because a lot of it does come down to, look, if you got to change the race cars around and do these kinds of things. Look, it might not be a big deal to some of these bigger teams, but there's a lot of local teams all across the country that, they might not be able to do all those. So just a lot of thought and a lot of information that we don't have right now that we got to put into that.
Yeah, I think sprint car racing is just dangerous for sure, and it's kind of hard to avoid any injuries at all. But I don't think, Macri's wreck, I don't think that a wreck like that should ever break your back or, hurt yourself like that. So seeing it makes you a little worried. And then you see guys that go huge and they get out and they're just fine. So it's kind of confusing. I don't know enough about any of it to really give an opinion. But I know that there is a lot of guys that are working on making it safer and that have good intentions. Mm-hmm. So I'm just putting all my trust in those guys and hoping that, myself or anyone else doesn't have that happen to them.
And that's what I see, like Darren Pittman being so heavily involved, raced for a long period of time with the Ultra Shield deal is trying. So that's why I see the improvements, that at least they're trying to have. I'm like you, though, when you look at the Macri thing and you see these horrible rides and guys come up scathed, and it seems like the ones that don't really look that bad end up being more catastrophic, and naturally we need all you guys to be healthy. I mean, when Aaron and Tyler were out last year, I mean, not taking anything away from the High Limit Series, but man, we want to see all those guys. We want to see every one of you guys racing every week.
Yeah.
And we have to have you guys racing every week, you know?
Well, and I'm sure too, you guys know just as much as anything else, like as racers, those conversations that we seem to have about safety and stuff seem to be more of bench racing talk, I guess you'd say, after races between drivers or whatever. And, we talked about it on here about, Chase Johnson putting out the video and some of the stuff that he put on about his wreck. And, I think there's times that we probably don't have as much open forum conversation about some of the safety things that do go on, where we end up kind of letting people that are, I guess, the higher powers kind of make all these decisions, and they pick those from a standpoint of, I don't really want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I think they look at it sometimes as a money standpoint of, okay, well, this guy maybe this manufacturer is helping us out a little more. We're going to do whatever he wants us to do or whatever it may be. And, listen, we have a lot of smart people in racing, whether that's drivers or crew guys or team owners or guys that race that are building products now. And I think the more that these conversations end up getting had is the way we direct ourselves in the right direction. I look at a guy like Flea, who I've known my whole life, who's helped building thousands and thousands of race cars and fixed a lot of race cars. And listen, he's on social media all the time, kind of putting out there what his 2 cents is. And, I think the more we can get those guys involved and the more we get, the certain, I guess, powers that be kind of open forum, some of these things, that's where we're going to start making strides. Chase, I think you're 100% right. The data and all of those, that's what we have to have. Now, who's going to spend the millions of dollars to wreck a bunch of race cars on purpose and do all those things? I don't know. I don't know if there's somebody that's going to do it. You might be right. We may never see it. But, those are the things that have to happen to advance some of this stuff to get us out of a part where, I would say on the sprint car side where you're seeing a lot of back injuries and seeing some of these freak incidents that come out of nowhere that you would never expect. And, we all know as racers, we're all competitors. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of tough conversations that are not had because nobody either wants to hurt somebody's feelings or they don't want to take their hand out of somebody's pocket, I guess you'd say, in the way I look at it. And, I feel like our late model stuff, I feel like is very, very safe right now. I feel like we're not seeing much of any injuries, knock on wood. You guys are flipping through the air a hell of a lot more than we are though. So, I think for, where you guys are at, there's been some safety stuff that's come out in the last few years. Has it been good? Has it been bad? I don't really know. I don't race what you guys do, but I do think at the end of the day, it always comes down to way more tougher conversations being had than what's being done right now. Because you don't want to make it go into something where you look at NASCAR, right? It pretty much took until Earnhardt got killed, that NASCAR was like, oh my God, we have to do something now. And I'm not saying that something like that's going to happen, but, Ryan, listening to you kind of say, listen, it's dangerous and shit happens. And that's kind of the standard. Like, man, I feel like hopefully some guys, start putting their heads together and everybody not being I'm smarter than him. We shouldn't do that, and put all these guys in a room and go, hey, we need to figure this shit out before we keep losing some of these guys with back injuries that put them out for the rest of their career, because I don't know how many back injuries some of the guys can have. Like I know Anthony's had 2 or 3 now, and listen, at some point you're not going to be able to get in and out of a race car. So, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, but it definitely is definitely a big topic, I think, watching what you guys do when things like this keep happening. Yeah.
Boys, before we let you go, we always like to let the fans want to know a little bit something about you two cats.
Yeah.
So we want to talk a little bit like what's on Ryan Timms' playlist. We want to know what he's listening to a little bit. Look at him, he's already smiling. Whatever. He might have a difference than Chase. You think they're going to line?
I think they're going to be a little different here.
They're going to be a little bit different in what we're listening to.
Yeah.
I listen to a little bit of everything. I listen to country. I don't know if you would call it rock, really, but like early 2000s, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, that kind of category. And then I listen to some rap music, the newer rap music, no Tupac or nothing. Yeah, I kind of get a little bit of everything.
What about you, Chase?
I'm more of a probably a hard rock, alternative rock person. I listen to a little bit of country, but I like a lot of Smashing Into Pieces. I don't know if you heard of that, Dayseeker, some of those bands. But you know, for I feel like the calm personality I have, I feel like some people wouldn't expect the songs I listen to.
Oh shit, that's good. That's about right.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Oh, we always like to know that. People always want to know like what you guys kind of,
Yeah, like what do you guys do during the week? You know, if you're not at the race shop or you're not racing. I mean, I know there's not many days of that throughout the year. You know, but if there's an off day where it's like, all right, we ain't got nothing to do, what are you guys going to do?
You go ahead.
No, you're good, Ryan. Go ahead.
On a regular day, like get back from the races on Sunday, and then Monday through Thursday, I'll either go to the race shop and help the guys during the day, or Shane owns a trailer sales company, so I'll go and work there sometimes and get a little extra cash, do whatever he has me do. And then in the evenings, go play basketball. I've been getting into cooking a little bit more.
Chef Tim's. Look at that.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been trying to grow up a little bit more, play less video games. I still play some video games every now and again. Golf. Yeah, some pretty normal things.
Hey, real quick, you miss racing Canon Macintosh on a regular basis?
I don't miss racing midgets, no. I like having a wing above me and keeping me on the ground.
What about you, Chase? What are you up to?
Oh, it's pretty much like it's like running a dog daycare when I'm not racing. So me and my wife, we don't have kids, but we have dogs. We foster dogs too. So typically when I'm not running or I'm not racing, it's pretty much keeping up with the house and making sure the dogs are out and about, because we're pretty much gone way too often sometimes. So I'm not pretty much all about the racing. So, you know, for us, we get out and about with the dogs as much as possible. My wife especially goes on hikes and whatnot. Try and do that, you know, sometimes if I can. And, you know, we watch our nieces, things like that. So more of the, I guess, adulting aspect, which does suck sometimes, because Ryan sounds pretty fun.
Ryan's like, oh, damn, I ain't got shit to do today. I guess I'll go over here, make a little extra cash, call up one of my buddies and go to the rec center and shoot some hoops. And then, yeah.
You did have one of the coolest photos, Chase, though, over the weekend in Victory Lane with your nieces.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That they are.
I saw that, Corey.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they are big fans of the racing. So they're there. I think they've been all but at every single win this year. So I mean, they love it. But it's actually one of their birthdays today. So we got the other one coming up here in 2 weeks. We're pretty much sharing a birthday party. So I'm sure I'll get like a frozen cake with her that we can blow out candles. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Frozen everything. I watched Frozen with my daughter last night. So I've seen that movie about 9,000 times. So I've got like the songs memorized and all the good stuff. We got Frozen everything. We got the princess dresses. We've got all the stuffed animals. We've got everything. It's just nonstop at our house.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
So we what about the Champ Car stuff? You know, naturally you messed around with that a little bit, Chase, and you did very well in it. actually. Or is that now because of racing the wing car so much that you just don't have time for it?
Right now for this year, yeah, it's kind of put on hold, but if something kind of comes up in the schedule, we might be able to do it, see what we can do, but gonna probably miss out on the Port Royal race this year because they have a bigger event at Lincoln, for the wing car and stuff. So as of right now for this year, not gonna be able to do it, but honestly, it's been so much fun being able to run that thing a couple times, just get out of the I guess sometimes the pressure of the 410, and just kind of go enjoy racing a little bit. But I can tell you it's pretty uncomfortable going from the wing, after running the wing car for so long to hop in that thing. It's like a tank, I swear to God. So no, I always look forward to being able to run that thing, but hopefully I can get back in here soon.
My last thing is for both of you. Naturally, Ryan, because your dad raced late models, you guys watching late model races? You watching some dirt late model races?
I don't watch very many late model races. No, I do. They come across my feed, and I'll watch. But I guess I'm a sprint car guy, and
I was gonna wear a Ryan Tim shirt to Knoxville this year, but I'm not anymore. Chase, you got a better answer? Because I'll be buying Chase Dietz apparel here pretty quickly.
You know what? I watch every single race. No, I do try to keep up with it. I can't say I watch everything, but I try and keep up with who's winning where, who's doing well, those kinds of things.
Good.
So.
And who's your favorite late model driver?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't even think about buttering up, Ryan. You already lost. You're out. Tell Randy if he's got any old racing T-shirts of his, I'll wear one of his shirts this year. Yeah. Oh shit.
Well, guys, man, it's been great. I can't thank you enough for coming on our show tonight on the Dirt Parlor. Having the both of you on at the same time, and there's just naturally a lot of synergy between the two of you guys, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having us on. Seriously.
Yeah.
You got anything, Ryan, you want to say to Chase before we leave?
Good luck tomorrow.
That's right.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll see you at one of these big races here soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you will. Right. So.
Yeah, we appreciate you boys, and thank you guys for coming on, and good luck this year, and we'll definitely see you both at Knoxville.
We'll see you
in
here.
August.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you guys. So we just finished up with two awesome guests, with Chase Dietz and Ryan Timms, and just two awesome guys. Thankful to have both of them join us on the show. Now we're going to move into a segment that me and Don do every week, but this week it's going to be presented by Hoker Trucking. Jeff Hoker's a great partner of ours, sponsor of mine, and also his driver, won the big money this weekend at Mississippi Thunder. So, really cool to see. But, definitely want to thank Hoker Trucking, for being the presenting sponsor of this weekend's race day recap. So, let's go right into kind of what happened this weekend.
The big thing is, before we get started on Ryan Gustin, is like the week before. I mean, he's been hot. And he just carried the momentum right up there, and you got to witness it.
Yeah. Ryan's had success at Mississippi Thunder before. He won that race in 2024. And, I look back at, last year, him winning Cedar Lake, and those two places kind of emulate each other in a way. One of the things being the tire rule that we were on this past weekend at MTS was all threes. That's what we go on when we're up at Cedar Lake. So that place plays right into his driving style, which is, listen, for one, you got to be a gasser to get around the top of the racetrack there. As you can see what Bobby did, the first night, and then obviously kind of runs up to Ryan there at the end of the night. But, he's very, very comfortable there, able to get around the racetrack with a lot of speed without scrubbing it. That's the hardest part about there is when you run the fence, it's very, very aggressive. Turn 2 is very different than turn 4. So, he did an awesome job. Unfortunately, I had to sit and watch from the infield on Saturday night. But, even as Bobby started to pressure him, that's usually when the mistakes mount, right? You see, I know Ryan could see that the 32 got into second. He could see the board. Knowing you have to push a little more, that's usually when, if you're going to make a mistake, you do, and he just never made one. He did a great job on the restarts, and overall it was a for me, it was not a great racing weekend by any means, but there was some controversy that we got stirred up with.
What was your take on that a little bit? Naturally, and Gordy and I are talking about the Pierce and Ethan Dotson situation. The California slide job, I guess, seems to be the thing that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I saw the replay of what they showed on Dirt Vision, or maybe somebody else posted the social media thing that said he landed on my nose, so I landed on his, or whatever it was, and. From the replay I saw, I never really saw a spot when Bobby did land on Ethan there. Now, did it happen maybe before in that race? It very well could have. I didn't care enough to go back and watch all of it. I just kind of saw what happened there. And I happened to be in that heat race. I just was a little further back than where they were. And
you had your own shit going on.
Yeah, I was worried about a lot of other things. I was back there swatting flies. So, it's just, listen, Ethan and Bobby have very similar driving styles. They're very much go get it up on the top. And listen, when you're racing for the same real estate, I think shit tends to happen there. I would say in that instance, that was a little more of Ethan probably playing that up for the crowd and the content than anything. Everybody, listen, you don't get many chances to take a shot at Bobby Pierce. Yeah. So I think when you get one, you kind of go for it. Bobby comes back, fires back at him in on the podium interview Saturday night or whatever, Friday night.
Which was pretty good.
Whatever night that was. I still have Saturday night. Yeah. It's just the way things go. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you had to ask a lot of us, I would say that a lot of us would say both of them have hit us all, Right. So those two kind of bickering back and forth just doesn't really do it for me, because it's like, I think it was more of a play up than anything. And listen, Bobby is a top 5 driver in the country. Like, I don't know if that's the guy you really want to pick on at the end of the day. If you're Ethan, like, you race together all the time, so now he just owes you one. It's just kind of one of those deals. It's kind of wild for me to see, and I guess I didn't take stock in it this weekend because I was so bad. Like, I didn't really ride into it much because
it's more on social media than anything.
Yes.
And the other thing is the situation that I look at is Bobby's fast enough. If he's going to find you.
Yes, 100%.
He's going to outrun you 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So if he wants you bad enough, He's going to get you.
Yeah. The one that probably got me a little more ramped up to see what happens is the Bobby JD deal that happened on Friday night. The 32 he just flat out did take the 49 out, but I know JD got into him on the restart, and then a lap later, Bobby just kind of wrecks him there. I think that one plays up a lot more than the other, because I think that one culminates at a way bigger race somewhere down the road. And you just never know. And listen, that's what Mississippi Thunder is, a very fast racetrack. You're kind of hammered down. When shit happens, it happens to be a little bit bigger than it does anywhere else. And so, that's just part of it. And, when you look at, we're starting to get to where big money is on the line now, right? You're getting into this month of money here in May. Obviously there's a lot of racing this week that guys are going to be at together. You start looking, you got the Show Me, you've got Mansfield coming up there at the end of the month. There's big money. This is when all those little ticky-tack things that you did along the road, this is when they either start to haunt you or you're able to give somebody back that you owe them one. So it's it's just, listen, you're gonna see it for the rest of the summer. Guys have now been on the road long enough. They're getting agitated if they haven't been running good, or they are running good and they're getting wiped out. So it's just kind of crazy how this starts to build up, and then shit starts happening in bigger races.
And then you look at the Lucas Oil Series over the weekend. we see RTJ.
Called it.
Yep. And then you look at, and then of course Huddy.
Yep.
But Devin was really good.
Yep.
I think if Devin qualified, I don't know, but then again, Huddy had a great race car.
Yep.
And so you look at that, and then what was really neat is to see Drake Troutman get the win at West Virginia Motor on Sunday.
Some bitch drove like 12 hours overnight to go there. I mean, talk about somebody who wants to race. I mean, it was a long week. We went to Independence Tuesday, raced Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and he says, hell yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive 12 hours to West Virginia. And it paid off for him. So, good job on Drake. I really like Drake. Dude, just talk about a racer's racer. Like, that's what he wants to do. And that's, it's cool to see him drive all the way across there and win that. That takes, hell, I loaded my shit up and drove home 8 hours and split my drive up and was miserable by the time I got home. He drove 12 hours, got in a race car, and went out and won. So, yeah, kudos to him and their entire group that they got there. And, yeah, I mean, Huddy Saturday night, obviously very good. Listen, I guess now looking back at last week, I'm not sure why we counted Jason Durham out so much. But, listen, Jason has a great track record at Florence with JD and winning some races up there. So
and Huddy's been good all year.
Yes, and so, we keep talking about this Lucas series because it's just so back and forth. And, I think I expected the 76 to be better than he was, and they were not as great as they would have liked to been. And, so there's a lot of moving pieces happening there in that series. I mean, you just look across the board. They got so many guys who are very top-tier guys who can win those races. So, yep, I'll get to see them all this week. So we'll get to see.
Just getting ready to go into that.
Yeah.
This is the week of Illinois Speed Week.
Yep.
And basically you're looking at, 3 20s and a 25 and a 30, right?
Yeah.
And with Fairbury ending it, you look at that schedule with Lincoln Spoon and all these places that we're going, Farmer City. This is a big week. This is a make or break week for a lot of guys. Yeah, I mean, it can go really, really good, and it can go really, really bad in a hurry. Listen, when you come to Illinois and you race at the bullrings and all this stuff that comes with it, listen, if you start the week off hot, like you can get on a roll here and make some money and kind of build some confidence up going into the rest of this season. But you can also get kicked down in a hurry going to these races. Like you pretty much know you're rolling into the pit area and there's going to be 50-something cars every night. Making these races is really, really tough. Running up front of them is even harder. I've been fortunate enough to race up front at a few of them in different past years, and it's just crazy how this week works out. They've made it longer now, with LaSalle being in there. Mm-hmm. It used to just be Spoon, Lincoln, and when they added LaSalle last year, this week can drag on, and it's, like I said, it's really tough, and now you put the fact that every Lucas guy is going to be there all week. The Outlaws do not race, so now you throw the likes of all of them in there. This is pretty much like the sprint cars go to Knoxville and race, and this is about the same concept, except we're racing on a damn bull ring. You got the high limit in the World of Outlaws sprint cars at Knoxville. Yep. We get 5 nights of basically Lucas and World of Outlaws. Yeah, in the middle of Illinois. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just a crapshoot because, dude, listen, the locals, the regional Mars guys, the Fagers, the Unzickers, Patolas, those guys have just as much of a shot as anybody else does any of these nights. And then you throw in your Shepherds, and I left out Bab there, but you take all those guys and take now your Lucas guys, and then you take your Outlaw guys, which is Bobby and Gustin and Nick and Timmy and these guys that want to come race this week. Like, dude, it is ridiculous what you're going up against every night, and then you got the Sheppy and Pierce battle all week. Well, right. And so, it's just, dude, there's the king of, the 2 Illinois hot dogs, right? Well, right. I mean, you take a guy like Brian Shirley, right? Brian has not had a great year to this point. But some bitch you better watch out this week. That's right. Because
There's something about racing on Illinois bull rings that those guys that are born and bred doing it, they just know how to get around them better than the most.
Guys like Turbo.
Yep, exactly. Like you haven't even said his name. I don't know if a guy like Ashton Winger's coming or not this week, but if he shows up, he's going to be dangerous. There's just so many different things that can happen, and there's a lot of money on the line. This is a week that hurt feelings really start happening.
Look at Gordy's heart.
Yeah.
You got that little twinkle going on.
Just telling it is, dude. I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I know it all, and so yeah. Listen, it's guys have been now on the road for a while. It's not supposed to be real hot this week. I did notice that, so maybe that'll keep the temperature down just a little bit in the pit area, but I doubt it. And so, yeah, this is a great week for Illinois. Listen, it'll be packed every night. Every racetrack we go to will be loaded up with fans. The streaming service flow is going to hammer it out this week. You're going to have soundbite after soundbite after soundbite. And, yeah, you take, like, shit that happened this past weekend, that can arise right away. Anybody that didn't get along, it's not like you got a week off to kind of get over it. You had 2 days, and it's like, oh, well, they start tomorrow.
So you're guaranteeing me next Monday night that we got something to talk about?
I'd say we'll have about 5 things to talk about. It would be my guess. If I had to guess, we'll have at least 5, if not double digits. I would say for sure. So hopefully I'm not in the midst of all that. But you know what? Right now, I'd take it. If it was me being pissed off, that means I was probably in the right spot, during a feature or something. So at least I'd have something to be mad about. But yeah, you just don't know. I mean, this is the way it works. And dude, our racing is very hard right now, and it's exciting to see. When you get to this week, the levels start ramping up, right? We're getting closer to the first Eldora. You got the Show Me coming up. You got all these things, and now everything's culminating towards, and you're going, all right, now we're getting money. Now we're going to places that guys, there's not just 5 guys who are really good at this racetrack. There's 25 guys. And so, yeah, it's a week you got to be prepared for, and you really want to start whatever. Some guys don't race all week. I normally do, but this year I'm not. I'm just going to run Spoon River on Wednesday and then go to Farmer City and Fairbury on Friday and Saturday. And for me, I look at it as like, okay, if I had picked 3 of the 5 tracks, those are the 3 that I'm best at, and that's where I'm going to go. That's where I want to go race with the flow stuff on Wednesday, but then I'm going to take a day and get ready, and I want to be ready for Friday night when we roll into Farmer City. So
2 places, by the way, Gordy has been very good at Farmer City and Fairbury.
Yeah, and I've
some good history.
I've had some success at those places, and I'm hoping we can pick right back up there, but it's confidence and those things that you have to carry into these weeks. And, we struggled this past weekend big time. It wasn't from lack of effort, because we changed every damn corner on the race car every time. It felt like we come off the racetrack, and we just never really got any better. And sometimes that's just the way it goes. You can't really hang your hat on it. You can't, worry about it, because it's already over with, and nobody feels sorry for you. Like, by the time we roll into LaSalle, nobody goes, oh, well, Gordy had a bad week and I'm going to give him a break. They don't give a shit. Like, you just don't.
Steve Martin, if you're listening, take note, but that is not that easy out there.
Right.
But now let's switch gears, because we got to talk about sprint cars.
Yep.
We got to cover it. Last week, the Outlaws, of course, get washed out.
Yep.
And then we go with the high limit. Has a Texas deal, Mr. 57. Kyle takes care of it. And then, of course, we see the Texas native win at home.
Yep.
And Aaron looks like he's starting to show what Aaron does. And I'll let you talk a little bit about what you saw in the high limit stuff over the weekend.
Yeah, so I didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't go back and rewatch the highlights from when Kyle won. It pretty much just explained it to me whenever he won. It's like, that's just Kyle being Kyle, and you just kind of deal with those and you roll on with it. But, Saturday watching the the highlights of Day and Reitzel, I mean, just getting it on. Like, I mean, listen, Aaron is, we've talked about it a million times, and Aaron is at the very top of what his career has been. His game is as good as it can be. And when you're able to hold off somebody like Corey, who really charges the way he does, and normally when he's into that mode, you're not beating him, and Aaron's right there with him. It's just it shows how strong that team is, kind of through and through. they don't seem to ever have back-to-back bad nights. You don't see that out of them. You see them if they're running 10th one night, they're probably in the top 3 or 5 the next night. So it's good to see him, in victory lane and winning races. After what he endured last year, and it's you can have a lot of appreciation. At least I know I do for what Aaron does with that team and how he's built this all up. And it's we talked about it before. The High Limit's doing a great job of piling races in on those NASCAR weekends because, you sit there and watch Kyle win Friday night, and then, he's winning the Xfinity race on Saturday, and he didn't have a good Sunday, but they're building such a fan base up for these guys that, a kid like Corey Day now is got obviously a legitimate shot at being a Sunday guy, which he will be at some point, but you used to see, it was the random ones that kind of, you had your Tony Stewart and you had your Jeff Gordon, and then Kyle Larson came along and it was like, oh, we're just going to, when we get that one mainstay talent, they're going to make it, but the rest of us are just going to keep doing what we're doing. And now you see Brent Cruz racing on Saturdays. You see Corey Day out there. I mean, all these guys are getting legitimate shots because I think it comes from, it is the Kyle Larson effect, but High Limit has done a great job by putting these guys in front of these people, giving them a legitimate chance to be in front of big crowds, people who don't know who they are. And then you get a guy like Aaron Reitzel. I bet he got a bunch of fans out of that winning Saturday night, there at Texas, because people know who Corey Day is now. Now Aaron Reitzel beats him like, well, all right, we didn't know who this guy is. No, I think Aaron's going to be a sprint car driver for the rest of his life, but they know who Aaron Reitzel is now because of what is happening inside our sport, and the way the trajectory of the streaming and them being on FS1 and all this is really helping as a whole. And it's cool to see how this has all evolved, I guess you'd say, in the last 4 or 5 years and what keeps building out of it. And I think that's why you're seeing, as we've talked about, bigger sponsors and bigger companies and names on race cars that you're used to seeing on Sundays are slowly finding their way to race cars that are racing on Saturday night at dirt tracks. So, it's just, a lot happening. They got a lot coming up too. All the sprint car stuff does. I did just see that next weekend, I think they go to Eldora, right?
No, Kokomo is High Limits at Kokomo. And then we've got the World of Outlaws
not this weekend.
And then the following. But yeah,
the
you're
following
right, Gordy.
week, yeah.
But the big thing is, I loved Corey Day's interview when he basically said Aaron was flawless.
Yep.
There's nothing I did everything I could. He just ran where I wanted to. He was running a lot where I wanted to be. And Aaron knew where Corey wanted to run.
Right.
And it just shows you. And like I said, what's really cool is last week, we got to throw out Knoxville Raceway. They throw the free admission night sponsored by Craig Ford and Pella Motors, and they throw that out there in the massive crowd that they had, and it was great to see. And we talked about it, like even with the guys earlier, how the fact that there was so many new fans, probably at the race for the first time, and how important that is to our sport, into dirt racing, of getting these people to the racetrack. And you know that of more than anyone, knowing what your parents have a racetrack, and how hard it is to get the fans out to the racetrack. I'd like you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that guys, promoters, and all these things had to start getting creative. We talked about it with Levi when he was on here. You have to think outside of the box now because there's so much entertainment happening well outside racetracks, what the families are going to and taking their kids to and what people are spending their money on, especially in the economy and the way it's going, and trying to find ways to get new people to the races, because I still have yet to met somebody that has come to the races for the first time that was like, I didn't have fun. I'll never come back. I'd say it's like a 98% clip that they come back and go to a second race. So, Knoxville has that. They get unbelievable turnout. It's 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people. I don't know how many it was, but it was a lot. And, that's where I feel like we're gaining that back. We're starting to recover some of those fans that maybe we lost out there for a little bit from 2017 to 2021. I look at the NASCAR stuff this weekend. It was loaded up with people. That is starting to trend the right direction. And more than ever, the series and the promoters and all them have to be on top of their game going, okay, we got to get these people here. How do we get them to stay? Is it the food that we're serving? Is it the easy access to getting in and out of the racetrack? What is it? But giving these free nights or these discounted nights to get new people in there, because once they grasp onto something, I feel like they just want to keep coming back, right? But you got to get them there somehow. And sometimes I look at some of these places that we go that way overcharge general admission and they way overcharge a pit pass. And it's going, well, how the hell are you ever going to get somebody and convince them they need to come in here and spend $200 for 5 people to come in and think that they're going to want to do that every week? I just don't see it as being realistic. And so sometimes that's the dice you have to roll. You know what? It helps when you got great sponsors that want to sponsor nights like that. And obviously Knoxville has built themselves up to be this unbelievable place that has everything you could ever want inside a facility. But you still got to act on it, right? They did it. They clearly pulled it off. They've had great racing there. And so it's, that's what I think a lot of promoters need to look at. I think sometimes they look at it and go, well, we're not Knoxville, or we're not Eldora, or we're not Fairbury, or whatever it is. But it's like, I'm not saying you should go out and just have a free night and just wing it, but, there's some things that other promoters can be doing to up, kind of what they've done in the past, right? The same cookie cutter, well, we open this racetrack and people show up on Friday night. That's just it's not reality. And I want, I hope that promoters learn from some of these things that the big tracks are doing. Yeah, do they have the backing and some of that stuff? Yeah, they do. But we've talked to all these. We've talked to the Casey Schumann. We've talked to Levi, and all these people that are willing to kind of step outside the box and try new things and do that. That's what we have to get guys to do at the end of the day, because that's how we get a new customer to come in. That's how we get people to come in and maybe their son falls in love with, I'm a huge fan of this guy or whatever. Like, listen, if a kid comes to the races and he is all about it and he tells his mom and dad he wants to go back, I promise you they're taking him back. So getting them there and getting them excited about what's happening and getting down to meet their drivers. I think I looked and saw that the other night at Texas. I mean, the pits is loaded up. Knoxville, the pits were loaded up with people after the races. Like, that's what we want. That's what you have to have to keep growing the sport and the way it's going. And like I said, I think High Limit has obviously done a great job putting sprint car racing for sure on a huge map. I know that Dirt Vision has done it with CBS Sports Network and those things. And it's really cool that we are taking more steps like that, I think, right now. You're seeing it a little bit more, and I think it's only going to continue growing as we get further into these people wanting to spend more money inside dirt racing.
I think Kendra Jacobs flies so far under the radar for what she does. We had her on the show too, because when you think she's said from day one what we've got to do, and she's definitely made a major impact on our sport, and kudos for her.
Absolutely.
Because she's so engaged with what's going on. And in leaving at Knoxville, of course, we got to talk about Tim's comes off the 2 podium finishes with the Outlaws and comes out, made a statement Saturday night.
Yep.
I mean, a statement.
The kid, dude, I tell you what, if there was a place you want to be good at, it's Knoxville, and he just gets right around there, and he just continues to impress.
You don't even have to move the wing.
Yeah, right. It's impressive what he's able to do at a place that so many people talk about is so
technical,
difficult.
right?
Yep. Everyone I'm talking about, it's so difficult and so technical and all these things, and he just makes it look so easy and so effortless. And he's making sure everybody is aware that he got 1 Knoxville Nationals, but he ain't afraid to get another one right back to back. And as we can tell, he will 100% be right in the running for winning a second one in back-to-back years if they keep this up, because he just gets around there so unbelievably good. It's crazy. To be that young and that just simple-minded in a way to just go, okay, hey, I'm just going back. I know this racetrack well. This is how I get around it. I'm going to keep it easy. that's really hard to do. It's really hard to go out there and have that confidence, still keep your aggression, and also think that and not get too big-headed where like, oh, yep, you know what I mean?
Complacent.
Yeah, sure. Like it could be real easy for somebody like that to go, all right, well, I got one. You know, I'm kind of good. We can just ring out. Like, no, you don't see that in him. You see him just getting better. Yeah, it's like I said, just so impressive, and having him on the show, you know, listen, he's a quiet kid.
Yeah.
You don't get much out of him a lot, but one thing you can tell, I don't think he talks that much because he lets his driving just do it for him, right? I mean,
he's so talented.
Yeah, he just is great head on his shoulders, and
he's got the right people behind him.
Yeah.
It looks like the team that he's building, he's got it all going on right now.
Yeah, and to be honest, if he keeps this going up, I'd say the guys on Sunday might swoop down and try to get him next. You know, he's got that kind of talent and ability already built into him, and you can tell his work ethic is really good. And it's just crazy to see. And
he's even he's starting to cook.
Yeah. Bro's been cooking. Just been on Saturday nights at your local dirt track. That's where it's been. So, you know, it's just, very impressive by all means. The other thing I hated seeing this weekend is Brian Brown taking another hit, you know.
Glad to see him okay.
Yes, you know, happened to see that. They obviously showed that on social media. I saw that and just thought, man, just Turn 2 and him have not got along here for the last year. And, you know, hope he's doing all right. Didn't really check. I know they had said he was okay and stuff, but you know, you hate seeing that for a guy like Brownie. Just a great advocate for the sport. Obviously, got the FEP and the KCs and all that, and you know, he does a great job, you know, promoting his brands and stuff. So, you know, hopefully he gets kind of rid of this bad bug and moves on, and we'll see him, you know, there in August.
And then we switch gears, and the big week now for the Outlaws. They go into PA.
Yep. And
our guest won the last race at Lincoln, won the last big race at Williams Grove.
Yep.
You know, so we had Chase Dietz on earlier, and Gordy, I mean, this is like you talked about it even during the podcast with the guests of how the fans may hate Danny Dietrich, you know, but when all of a sudden this week it changes a little bit because they all pull together for their guys.
Yeah. Well, and you know, this is the the rivalry that we talk about, right? It's the posse versus the Outlaws. This is a tale as old as time. This is like you take them into that area, and all of a sudden it becomes a war between these two. And you take a guy like Chase, who has just been firing on all cylinders. He's got the confidence. He knows these racetracks. I know the Outlaws have been paying attention to it, right? Like they know who they're going to be going up against. They, you know, when you're going to PA, you're looking at that going, okay, who's the 4 or 5 we're really worried about when we get up there. And Chase is at the very top of that list. And, you know, it's just a lot of buildup that goes into this, you know, this weekend, right? This is the first time that you get this first little posse matchup, and everybody's kind of on edge on what's going to happen. And the fans always show out for it. You see that they're packed. The infield at Williams Grove and all them places will be packed. Lincoln, I'm sure, will be overflowing. So I'm excited to watch it. It'll be cool to see kind of what happens there. I feel like Lincoln is way more up the PA guys' alley than the other ones. I think you look at Williams Grove. I think the Outlaws have raced
history.
Yes, I mean you look at
coming back with Barry. Yeah, coming back with Barry at Williams Grove. Donnie, how cool would it be to see the 15 victory lane?
It would be awesome. And listen, when that racetrack gets right, man, he can go into places that others can't. That he just knows how to make speed at, and so. It would be really, really cool to see. You know, I hope he finds a way to get one of them, especially because you know that the Victory Lane interview would be just as good. So,
it's a kind of a book. It's a storybook, man. In a way, if it would happen,
I know it. So,
you know, because you think of all his success that Donnie Schatz had at Williams Grove, and you know, I mean, he's probably won more outlaw races probably than anyone there,
Right.
I mean, so many national opens. I mean, he's won every big race at the Grove, and with the team he's with now, right there. I mean, and he's starting to get some momentum, and I'm excited to see what if Donnie qualifies well, and he doesn't have to dig himself a hole. And he's the only guy that can dig himself out of a hole with the back qualifying. But imagine if he does get, some speed early, so he doesn't have to work so hard, and take care of his race car because when Donnie Schatz takes care of his race car, everybody's in trouble.
Yep, absolutely.
I
think it'll be, I think you're probably going to have 3 different winners this weekend. I don't really see anybody doubling up. I just think
you see a posse guy winning?
I think the guy we just had on the show wins one of them, for sure. I would
got
say
6 already.
I would think Lincoln tomorrow night. That would be, if I was picking one, I think Chase could definitely get it. I mean, obviously we know he can get it done there, but I think that's the one that he would get. And then you just don't know. After that, it's a dice roll going into this weekend of who's going to walk out of there winning. But we know the posse will be strong. They always are. But the outlaw guys have been pushing themselves a ton. So I think they match up really well with them going into this weekend.
And they were off last week.
Right.
And and then we got to talk about the Clausen Classic, at Kokomo.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big weekend, high limit 2-day show. Kokomo, great racetrack, naturally, love to see the 7BC in Victory Lane this week. Be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk a little bit about high limit at Kokomo.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we know that's a open wheel style racetrack, and we, every time we've seen whether it's been the Outlaws there or who's there, like they just happen to put on an awesome race, and this is weighing heavily on a lot of people's minds, this race, because of Brian's attachment to it, and a lot of guys are going to want to win this, and they know the style that Brian raced with. And that was kind of go after it and go get it all. And I expect to see just that, out of these guys. And it, just like I said, it's the same deal. It's just, there's so much good racing coming up this weekend. It's crazy.
This is a great week.
Yeah.
And the other one that we had on the show earlier, and I thought it could be a factor this weekend too, is JP.
Yeah.
JP could come out. And this is one of his favorite racetracks.
Yep.
This is home.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I mean. It's just, and Kokomo's a dice roll as well. There's a lot of crazy things that can happen there. The racetrack has a lot of change into it, and it could be way curbed up one night and you're following it around, or you got to turn down. So a lot of things can happen, and it'll happen fast. But for sure, like I said, it's going to be a great weekend of racing.
It's going to be a great weekend of racing. I'm going to let Gordy sign us off tonight.
Yep.
And appreciate everybody for tuning in and to us every week, of letting us get to do some pretty cool stuff here on the show and meet some great people and continue to grow this wonderful sport that we love.
Yep. So thank you guys for always tuning in, and for all of you that are listening on your way home on Friday here, we appreciate you tuning in. So make sure you like and subscribe on all the social medias and YouTube, and we'll see you next week.